Peace and blessings. It's Monday, December the 10th, the year 2018. We have a core links email from David Hinkson to Sean Hannity. This is a follow-up email. This email has been saved and uploaded to David Hinkson's webpage on yearofjubilee.com. Go to Year of Jubilee, spelled with one E, just like it is in the King James Bible. Click on the Hinkson page, and down at the bottom you'll see this letter. If you want to stick around, I'm going to read it. Radio Part 1. All I have is Part 1. I don't have any other parts at this time. It's dated December the 10th. That's the date that I received it, although Mr. Hinkson wrote it a few days earlier. Dear Mr. Hannity, I have written you a number of times and have had different people actually email you, and I have not heard back from you. I have now talked to a couple of other talk show hosts, and they are all interested in my new overall concepts here. Therefore, I respectfully again try to reach out to you, as I think you have a great talk show. In the past, I wrote to you about the fact that I did the clinical work on using copper in Africa and Russia to replace the need for penicillin and other drugs. And I also wrote you about one of my energy devices that I named the Galt motor. Yes, I have invented the real Galt motor. And I know that you know exactly what the real Galt motor is, as I know that in the past you helped to make and starred in the movie Atlas Shrugged. And I also have heard on your talk show many times, therefore, I know that you are a believer in Ayn Rand's economic principles. In fact, I believe you are a Randite, like myself, as I also agree with those concepts. Note that Miss Rand was an immigrant from Russia and ended up living in Ouray, Colorado, and I lived in her home in Ouray. I did not know that. Let me read that again. Note that Miss Rand was an immigrant from Russia and ended up living in Ouray, O-U-R-A-Y, Colorado, and I lived in her home in Ouray. It is also my opinion that Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged story about the character she created named John Galt was really a modified story about Nikola Tesla, as the story of John Galt is very similar to the actual story of Nikola Tesla. I actually built and tested my first new overall magnetic Galt motor concept back in 1993 while living in Las Vegas, Nevada. Acronym for Galt: G, geometrically, A, amplified, L, lateral, T, toroid. Note that Tesla's new invention was called the toroid before they changed the name of it to transformer. But the thing that you need to know now is that the Galt motor is really an AC magneto that also makes torque on the rotor shaft while it is running, and in fact the more energy you use or pull from it, the more the overall torque it puts on the rotor shaft, as the speed will increase faster and faster. Therefore, my new Galt motor magneto actually violates the law of Lenz, L-E-N-Z. Note that we right now have a Galt motor working and being demonstrated on the YouTube. And all you have to do is to type in Galt generator, and it is the fourth picture down. In this YouTube video, we are converting the generated AC directly into DC using a bridge rectifier, and then using the DC to power a series of hot plates. And the more hot plates that are turned on, the faster it can be seen to speed up. If you go and look at the website josephnewman.com, you will find that Mr. Newman, whom I have known for many years, has not been able to get a patent for his Newman motor, now for over 35 years. And he even sued the U.S. Patent Office, going all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, and he still cannot get a patent, as it seems to be totally political, as the U.S. Patent Office will never allow any device that even claims to be a perpetual motion to receive a patent. Therefore, as all of my energy devices now actually violate the law of Lenz to one degree or another, none of them would be patentable. Therefore, at this time, we will not claim that any of my energy devices are perpetual, as we will only state that we are amplifying the energy to help the customer lower their overall energy bill. Therefore, you need to now realize that I am the real John Galt and have the real Galt motor, and the federal agents that kidnapped me ended up even firebombing my factory, just like they did in the Atlas Shrugged story, and the secret place that John Galt moved all of the world producers to was Ouray, Colorado. There are many who claim to have new magnetic technology, but only my Galt motor can do what no other magneto device can do, and that is totally practical in all applications at this time. What I mean by this is that it can be plugged into any and all standard AC equipment that is already on the shelf and UL approved, and to actually feed the national power grid. And it also had the added feature or benefit of being able to be totally protected being able to totally protect the grid from EMP or CME flare. And I know that you, Mark Levin, Glenn Beck, and even George Norrie have all talked about the fact that we need to protect the national grid from this pending disaster. And if the national grid were to go down, the United States would be destroyed and millions of U.S. citizens will perish within a few months. And then more than 104 nuclear reactors would be at risk of cycling down to complete the meltdown. Therefore, what we really need right now is to have a Galt motor placed on each of these locations where every nuclear reactor is placed, so that all of these reactors will have backup power right now to make sure that if the grid for some reason is compromised, we are protected. And we need to place and space out thousands of these Galt power plants across the country to protect our grid and all of our electric infrastructure. The Galt as a motor magneto is also capable of being put into all electric applications like electric trains, planes, and ships, and even electric cars. And this would allow these cars to self-charge without having to be plugged in. Or we could just use a smaller battery and have the amps amplified to drive the electric motor further. In fact, I have more than one invention that is based on magnetic technology and Nikola Tesla's overall forgotten work. The reason that Mr. Tesla never got any of my newest magnetic concepts working is that he never had access to the type of quality magnets that we now have available since the 80s. And in fact, modern magnets create over 500 times more Gausses than before. Even now, we have new magnetic material that for the first time is going to be available, and the name of this new magnetic material is Hinkson nitride. And these new super magnets are over 1 million times more magnetic than what Nikola Tesla had access to. So we are at a new place in history, and I'm very excited about these concepts and feel at this point in time that we need to rethink all of the past magnetic applications that were not possible or practical under these new modern day magnetic upgrades. Therefore, at this time, we are not proposing to sell any of these new Galt magnetos, as our main interest is to now only work under individual contract with many to achieve our overall goals as fast as possible. Therefore, I have proposed that we create a new nonprofit to be named the Green Conservancy, that is created solely for the purpose of conservation. We are conservation, under the concept of the fact that we are going to save Mother Earth from global warming. This is a good plan, as they are the ones who came up with this junk science, and now we have the opportunity to set the record straight with conservative truth. Therefore, the overall concept now is that we are going to now move to take over the phony global warming movement, teach real and truthful science concepts, and make this whole global warming movement a new Randite concept based on the view of the world. I thus personally do not care if this global warming movement is a fraud or not, and we are now getting ready to move forward and solve the total problem one way or another, and this should make all concerned supportive of our efforts. Therefore, I have been watching and reading about crowdfunding and crowd innovation. I would thus propose that we move forward doing a crowdfunding offering. Here are just a few of my ideas. Commissions. 1. As the standard fee for someone to help promote a crowdfunding offering is normally 10%, I would propose to pay your show this standard 10% crowdfunding promotional fee, and your show could use the standard promo concept to keep track of how many of your listeners have actually donated, and the Green Conservancy would also pay you additional 10% as an advertising fee. This would give you a total of 20% under these two concepts. Number 2, I also read in a book called Bitcoin for Dummies that Congress has now authorized crowdfunding platforms to now be able to give out a token or Bitcoin token to each person who donates to a crowdfunding project. In this book, the author even stated that some people have used this overall concept to create or a kind of IPO offering that actually raised hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, to actually create your own Bitcoin offering, all you really have to do is to put your individual initials in front of the old numbers that are already in existence, and you now have created a whole new Bitcoin token kind of offering that can create right out of thin air. Of course, these new CG Bitcoins have no real intrinsic value unless, of course, our new Green Conservancy nonprofit succeeds. I've got a phone call from Louisville. Hold on. All right, I had to take that prisoner phone call. Let's pick up where we left off. Of course, these new CG Bitcoins would have no real intrinsic value unless, of course, our new Green Conservancy nonprofit succeeds in this overall crowdfunding venture, and these new CG Bitcoins would then be more like fiat money with nothing backing their value. Therefore, I would also propose that we actually attach something of value to these Bitcoins to make them more like de jure real money. This would mean that if one of your listeners were to donate $10 to our crowdfunding platform, we could issue them $10 worth of our GC Bitcoins. We also could give your network 10% of these issued Bitcoins, and this could bring your overall commission up to 30% or maybe more. 3, cogeneration. As the Green Conservancy would wish to have an ongoing relationship, and you and your network, I would propose that we actually enter into an agreement to install a Galt magneto at any chosen and agreed upon location that would then feed and protect the grid, while at the same time provide you with an ongoing funding supply to help pay for your airtime and the expansion of your network. Note that your show would like to have a long-term relationship and be a supporter of your show and network. We truly want to establish a long-term and lasting relationship with you. In all reality, we only need to raise $10,000 to be able to manufacture and produce a Galt magneto that would generate over $250,000 per month at 0.04 per kilowatt hour. Therefore, as you can see, we have room to negotiate a contract that would be very beneficial to you. Listener, 1. Any money that would be donated to the Green Conservancy nonprofit by any donor would now be full tax deductible donation under the concept of conservation, and the donor to the crowdfunding platform would now be entitled to get a full 50% deduction off of their income tax. Note, conservation nonprofits get special treatment as they get an extra 20% deduction. 2. Now, I would also propose that we make these GC Bitcoins would be redeemable in just 12 months, as the donor would now be able to get back most of his donation in something of value, if he so chooses to do so. We can also increase the value of these GC Bitcoins by a factor of 10% a year for the first 5 years. What all of this means is that we are really attempting to share the future potential of our success with each donor in such a way that might seem to be a little bit like having invested in the stock of a company that is now paying dividends. But of course, nonprofits have no stockholders. This overall plan is really kind of great, as in the real world, each donor will never really want to get back their original investment, as the new GC Bitcoin will now become more and more valuable, as it is the only real token currency that is really a de jure monetary supply that is backed by something of value. We therefore propose to back the value with the unit of energy as a watt. Therefore, these Bitcoin tokens could start to take on a whole life of their own as they become more and more valuable on their own. And in the end, no one will want to sell them for the lower price that we have agreed to give them. Therefore, in the end, we would be creating a whole new monetary system, and this is actually backed by something of real value that would have made Ayn Rand proud. And we might not ever have to even pay back these borrowed funds. This is all economical for us, as we, in all reality, are 100% removing the total cost of this energy from the energy. We do not need any nuclear material, oil, or even natural gas. This means that it is truly a new day and a new dawn. I have already written many letters and offered my energy devices to the military as I was in the U.S. Navy. I have never heard back from anyone. I just want you to know that I will move forward with these plans one way or another as fast as I can from my current location in prison. At this point in time, you are now part of my story that will be written about and told for generations to come. I have always loved your show and wish the best for you. I pray that you will continue to provide your great commentary. With respect, David Roland Hinkson.